Someone in the comments of one of my recent videos has asked me to do a graphic settings tutorial, so I thought I'd follow through on that. So open up Content Manager and go to Settings and Assetto Corsa, then Video Settings, and from here you want to use single screen rendering mode, or if you have triple monitors, triple screen. If you have a VR headset that you want to use for Assetto Corsa, use OpenVR. You want to use full screen mode because like borderless full screen and window mode are just not very good. Resolution, you want to use the max your monitor supports. You want to turn on VSync if you have a monitor that's less than like about 120 Hz or 100 Hz. My monitor is 75 Hz, so I turned on VSync. You want to turn on limit frame rate. And also, if you get screen tearing and your monitor is like a higher refresh rate, still turn on VSync if you get screen tearing. Now, quality settings, MSAA, I leave it at 2x. You can use 4x MSAA, but I'd say the performance hit is just too big for the quality you're getting, so I just leave it at 2x. Anthoroscopic filtering, I leave it at 8x. You can use 16x, but there's not much of a difference, so I'll use 8x because it gives me a bit better performance. World details, maximum. I like seeing crowds and like people. If your system is lower end, you can use a medium to low. I feel like those are acceptable. Shadows resolution, 1024 by 1024. I like this resolution. You can use something a bit higher if your PC is better, but I prefer 1024 by 1024. If you have a higher end system, you can use 3072 by 3072. I feel like that gives a good trade-off in terms of graphics. Then shadow resolution, but this is my sweet spot. Smoke generation, maximum. I just like seeing smoke when I'm drifting. Reflection resolution, 512 by 512. You can use higher, but it is a pretty significant performance hit. For rendering frequency, 2 faces per frame. Don't use 1 face per frame. It gives you like really choppy looking reflections, and you probably wouldn't want that. Use 2 faces per frame or static. Those give you the best look. Rendering distance, I usually just keep it at 1200. I might turn it up, but I don't really see a reason to. Now, post-processing, I use Exquisite Pure filter. You can use Exquisite Soul or Natural mode. You can use Photographic filter. You can use Soul. Those are the ones I'd recommend. I wouldn't recommend Need for Speed 2015 because it is like the glare is like really it's just too much for me. You can use it, like find someone's video and like get them to set it up for you, but I don't really like that filter. Now this Exquisite Pure filter is free, it's not paid, so anyone can use it. Overall quality, I keep it at maximum because I don't really see a reason to turn it down. You can turn it off or turn it to minimum if you need, but I just keep it at max. Glare quality, I keep it at high. If you go above high in Kunos cars, it'll look fine, but if you use modded cars, that's when it'll start looking a bit iffy and it'll just look too bright in modded cars. Depth of field, I turn it off. Really big performance hit. Like if you really want to use depth of field, you can turn it up to medium, which I'd say is acceptable. Don't use low. If you use low, you might as well turn it off. Saturation, I put it up to 120. That's where I like it. That's where I'm comfortable. Heat shimmering, I turn it off because performance hit is just too high and I don't really like how it looks. Sun rays, I keep it on. Performance hit is relatively low. You can turn it off if the sun rays are too much for you, but I just leave it on. FXAA, I like to leave this on. Performance hit's very low and it can smooth out some of those jagged edges. Mirrors resolution. Now I use second highest option because the performance hit from this to here is very low, and it's the same story for all the other resolutions except for the max. So I just keep it here. You can turn it down one, but I just leave it at that. High quality mirrors, I use this because I like seeing like all the details of the world in my mirrors, whatnot. So I just keep this on. The performance hit is relatively low. Skybox reflection, I use 200%. I like my cars a bit shinier, I guess a bit more effective, so I just put it at 200%. The MIP slot LED bias, I use -1 because in car dashboards it can look a bit blurry when you use 0. Frame latency, I use auto, just let my graphics card do the work. Now custom shaders patch, I use the 0.2.5 preview 1. You can get it for free if you just search it up, but I just use that one. Now general patch settings, this setting right here is a lifesaver for people who use wheels and controller. Like what this does is basically it allows you to use your D-pad for other things than just the quick pits menu, and if you want that you can turn this setting on. If you don't want that you can just leave it off. Physics experiments, you can copy all these settings here. Optimizations, now the force call test, you can check this if your CPU is, let's say, like 12th gen i5 probably. You can check this. If it's like worse than that, you probably want to leave this off. Or if your CPU just doesn't perform well in general, just turn this off. CPU optimizations, I turn all these on. That's the way I like it. It makes my game run pretty smoothly. Chunks optimization, you can use basic if your FPS is worse, but I use advanced. GPU optimizations, I check everything except for deduplicate textures, because as it says here, it might increase VRAM usage, which I don't want to happen. Frame limiter options, adjust frame time to improve smoothness, I turn this on. I use the sleep instruction. Some people turn this off and this, but I'll leave them both on. Break effects, I just leave this on. Colorful shadowing, I leave this on. DXGI, I turn on the flip model and use triple buffering. I use 30 FPS idle in background, which definitely saves you a bit of CPU, GPU usage when Assetto Corsa is in the background. Extra effects, motion blur, I have active, and turn the noise all the way down to 50%. Amount of blur, I turn it to 90%, and I use medium quality. You can turn the quality down, but I use medium. TAA, I turn the extra sharpness to 0. You'll see why in a moment. And I just leave everything else on normal settings. SSLR, I usually use 100% quality, and I turn it down to 32 steps. You can use 36 steps, but I use 32 personally. Now, ambient occlusion, HBA plus, I turn this on. It makes my shadows look a bit darker, a bit fuller, and it adds shadows to places that don't have it. This is a good setting, I leave it on. If your computer can't handle it, just turn it off. Screen space lighting, I turn it down to about 90%. I don't really need it full resolution. Graphics adjustments, I force low res drivers for other cars in first person view. I use that same. FSR, if your PC is really struggling, you can turn this on and it makes a world of difference. Post-processing, anti-aliasing, I use CMAA 2.0 with high quality, extra sharp, and fidelity CAS for extra sharpness. This is the reason why I have extra sharpness on TAA off. Don't use FSR if your computer is like okay with handling this game. Grass effects, I keep it on medium. It makes my grass look good enough. I'd say it looks good. If you turn it down to very low, your grass is just... If you turn it down to very low, you might as well turn off grass effects. So I use my medium quality. Lighting effects, I turn off dynamic lights in my mirrors. I use 8 cars casting lights. Don't use full resolution dynamic shadows. Those are my settings there. Particle effects, I turn most of these settings down. Just copy all of this. Yeah. Rain effects, this is only if you have the preview thing. It's okay if you don't have rain effects. Rain maps quality, I turn this all the way down to low. Chase cameras and car cameras, I use small drops. It makes it easier to see with third person view. Reflections effects, I keep all these settings stock. Smart mirror, I compact mirrors color format and use real mirrors with single reflection per frame update, which basically barely takes any FPS from your computer. But you can use 2 faces per frame if your computer can handle it. It'll just be a bit smoother. Smart shadows, I use 100% overhang. It definitely makes my shadows a bit sharper and it compensates for my lower shadow resolution. Shadows distance, I use 170. If you get pop in, you can turn it up to 250, but I just use 170. Fourth cascade distance, I turn this down to 1200. You can just use the regular 1500, but I just turn this down a bit. Surfaces effects, I turn this on. It just makes my force feedback a little different. Weather effects, turn off extra sharp stars, turn off extra clouds fidelity, turn off headlights on and off automatically. Turn this on. Update sky reflections as often. This definitely improves your FPS. That's all for Assetto Corsa and CSP settings. There are a few apps and the Assetto Corsa game which improve your FPS. Now that we are in the game, I will show you now that we're in the game, I'll show you the best apps I guess that I use personally. So if you go into all apps and then app shelf, my recommended apps are car mirrors, controller tweaks, extended controls, pocket technician, radar, rally copilot, setup exchange, skin companion. Those are the settings I recommend that you use, and they're just like the best for just tweaking the game. Like smart mirrors does exactly what it suggests. You can adjust your mirrors like FOV, rotation, so like if you adjust your driver position, you can also adjust your mirror position. Now my sole config settings, just copy, so use this for like makes nighttime a bit brighter. I would turn this up to like 120 actually. So if I can change the page. Okay, I use CPU split. It just improves my performance a bit when I'm using Sol. Post-processing, just copy each one of these pages. I use blue preset 2 with 105 strength. I use 270 reflections brightness with 130 reflection saturation. You can turn the saturation down, but this is where I like it. Everything else should be just stock settings. Post-process filter, I use 100% exposure, and that should be everything for Assetto Corsa. go into your web browser and search Process Lasso. You want to go here and download free. Once you've done that, just follow the setup instructions and you should get to here, which from here it can look very confusing, but I'll just show you the settings that I personally use. So you want to go into main and turn on Pro Balance and Smart Trim. You're going to go into options, options, general, refresh interval GUI, you want to turn it to 5, refresh interval governor, you want to turn it to 5 seconds as well. Power, you want to use Bitsum highest performance, you just want to, install it or reinitialize it, and that's all the Process Lasso settings. Razer Cortex, this is a really good game booster, so you just want to download that. And in Razer Cortex there's a system booster which you can use for system clean, speed up, and defragging your games. I think this is a really good app for optimizing settings. You can use the NVIDIA app for driver updates and whatnot, so you can install it and have it here and just check for drivers and whatnot. One of the things that will help your performance in the biggest way is to go into your Windows search bar, type PowerShell, and run PowerShell as an administrator. Once you're here, you want to type, you just want to type out what I'm typing. So you want to type iwr-https://christitus.com/win-iex. And once you're in here, you're going to go to tweaks and you want to select all of these settings. If you use Game DVR, uncheck that, but if you don't, just disable all of these settings, or enable all these settings. And then don't use the performance plan if you're already using the Bitsum high performance plan, but if you are, just click that. So you're going to run tweaks. After the tweaks are finished, just close out of that and restart your computer, and that's it. Thank you for watching.